So in this class today we are going to study about unmet medical needs and TPP. So firstly we'll start with unmet medical needs. What do you mean by unmet clinical needs? It's also known as unmet medical needs. So as per CDC, unmet need is defined as the delay or non-recipient of needed medical care, non-recipient of needed prescription drug, or non-recipient of dental care, needed dental care during past 12 months due to cause. So this is the definition as per CDC. They said that any unmet medical need is nothing but it is the delay. Okay, so keywords are really important in a definition, and these are important ones. So if you say those keywords you would be good to go. So it is unmet means what? You're not able to meet something, you're not able to get something. So what you're not able to get, the synonyms can be there is delay, or the synonym can be there is a non-recipient. You're not able to meet or not able to get whatever needed medical health care is. Not unnecessary. I would like to express that how they have used the word needed medical care. Very easy. Again, non-recipient of needed medical care, needed prescription drug, or needed dental care in the past 12 months due to cost. Now, as per NIH, this is the definition that I like or I would go with. So, unmet medical needs would be a condition. So, they have said that it is nothing but a condition, or it is a symptom whose treatment or diagnosis is not addressed adequately by available therapy. So that is an unmet medical need. So condition, it can be a disease, it can be a symptom. So it can be a disease or a symptom whose diagnosis or treatment is not addressed properly with whatever current or available therapies are there. So for example, you have a skin condition, you saw a bump on your skin and it's rapidly started to grow. Now you're not able to identify what kind of a skin disease is it, so you're not able to make the proper diagnosis of it. Even if you did, you don't have a proper treatment. You have tried every other treatment available in the market, but you're not able to rectify the disease because there's no available medical treatment. Then this skin rash or skin disease would be classified under an unmet medical need. So it is a condition or a disease whose diagnosis or treatment is not addressed adequately by the current therapy available. So it may include an immediate need for a defined population, example to treat a serious condition with no or limited treatment, or a long-term need for a society, example to address the development of resistance of antibacterial drugs. So these are also good examples. They said that it could include like an immediate need for a defined population. For example, immediate need for a defined population or for a whole mass would be the outbreak of COVID-19. And for longer term, as he said, that we need to address the development of resistance to antibacterial drugs. So those bacteria who had now have resistance towards antibacterial drugs. So now this is the definition as per Brigham. So it is very interesting to note this one, as this says that a common refrain heard by healthcare entrepreneurs is that they should focus on satisfying an unmet clinical need. So now brainstorming, like it's common sense. If I ask this question, you don't need to have prior clinical research knowledge or something like that. If someone comes up to you and he's a medical entrepreneur or healthcare entrepreneur, and they are CROs, or they want to sponsor a clinical research, they want to like market those drug products, how would they address, like, what would you want to do if you want to be an entrepreneur? What would be the one service or product you would come out with? You would come out with something that is not already there. So that is what healthcare entrepreneurs do, that they come out with something that is not already there. Obviously there are thousands of pain medications right now all over the world, and I have said thousands, uh, like, being a humble person, there are many more than thousands. There would be. So getting a drug or treatment or diagnosis or medical device or whatnot for an unmet medical need would be the primary focus of many healthcare entrepreneurs. So that's why I like this small article of Brigham on these topic. Like, it's a common word that's heard by healthcare entrepreneurs, is that they should focus on satisfying an unmet clinical need. However, there is an universal definition of the phrase unmet clinical needs. Even established companies, there isn't, so this is illegible, sorry. So there is not any universal definition of the word unmet clinical needs. Even the established companies and public healthcare agencies who use the concept of unmet clinical needs to assist in developing product roadmaps and healthcare policies, respectively, struggle to gain consciousness. So there are three elements that they said, and it's really interesting if you look at it. They said there are three elements to consider in assessing whether a disease or a condition is would be classified as unmet clinical needs. So they said the first one being adequacy and availability of treatment. So whether, if I look at the literal translations, not even like going deep into it, what does this mean? Adequacy or availability of treatment. So is there an adequate available treatment for a particular disease that I am going for? For example, fever. Fever is a condition, not a disease. But are there medications for fever? Heck yes. Okay, let's go to another medical condition, that is, I would say, let's go with food poisoning. Okay, so is there medications for food poisoning? There is anti-diarrheal drugs, there are anti-vomiting, anti-emetic drug, there are antibiotics for you to take them, there are drugs to replenish your volume, liquid volume lost during those. So there are supplements to replenish even those. So there available inadequate treatment for these? Yes. So would I go into a market with these treatment? No, because the competition is so high, and like, you would need a very solid branding if you would want to go with this. So I would go with something that does not have an adequate. Why they have said adequate? That there would be a clinical treatment, but it's not up to the mark. So it's just like, when you brainstorm, you get to the perfect thing, and it takes so many years after so many clinical researches. So adequacy is that, and availability is that there's no proper available treatment. So both the conditions are covered. So the benefit is only when there is a newly proposed solution over the current treatment. So even if there is an available treatment and you provided a adequate one, you provided a newly proposed solution which was better than the current treatment, then also it would benefit you. Like, for example, I made a combination of drug for people who had food poisoning induced by bacterial or eating stale food. So I have a combination of drug, that is like, for example, I have antibacterial drug with the antidiarrheal drug with the antiemetic, and why not take it with like liquid supplement? So, for example, I'm not saying this is the ideal example, but it would be such a great thing. Or if you have a drug that gives its T half is, for example, 5 hours, and you came up with a drug whose T half is 20 minutes, then also I think it would work. Then, what other essential element is to consider an unmet medical need is the disease severity or burden. How severe is the disease, and how much, it's gonna put a burden on the mass or the population, or how much like people it's going to impact. I would say that how much serious a disease is comes under unmet medical needs are disease with high severity. For example, the morbidity or mortality rate is very high, and high burden, that is the frequency or the cost of hospitalization, tend to get more. So that is what they actually mean by this. So high severity means what? We learn that it's the mortality morbidity rate, and burden is just the frequency and cost of hospitalization, or you have a medication but it's so costly that it puts a burden on you. Sorry. So this is what they're talking about. Lastly, the third condition that they talked about is the size of affected population. So it's quite self-explanatory. Typically relates directly to the affected population, typically relates directly to the size of the business opportunity and impact of the product. So suppose, for example, COVID-19, it was an unavailable treatment. COVID-19 was such a disease which had no treatment, which had a disease severity, high mortality rate, and it was burdened because, even if there is some kind of treatment, the cost of hospitalizing a COVID patient at the COVID times was so high, and the size of affected population also played a role in that. So, because the whole world, it was a pandemic, right? So, in that case, if I come up with a drug, or if I come up with a vaccine, or if I come up with a treatment, then that is going to be very viable for my business. It's not just about, like, you cannot go crazy and bring each and every other product to the market. Oh, for hair fall, I think I can bring this oil or something like that. It should have a population that is impacted, so that those many people could purchase it, and then naturally you have an entire market of that much of population to you at your feet, like the people will be serving you at your feet. So that is what they're trying to say, like, you cannot bring or manufacture and market anything and everything. There needs to be proper studies conducted, and that is a hot topic right now about unmet medical needs. So this was all about like the three essential elements to consider in assessing an unmet medical needs. It is an article based on Brigham. So this is like my kind of teaching, or when I study like this, that I don't just stick to just one answer. I just don't stick to one article. I go to different websites. For example, you can see CDC here, NIH here, Brigham here. So what it does is that it gives you like a very vast range of ideas. Like, these are already expert people sitting up there and writing. So they have brainstormed together and put up this summary for you. So what is the best way? You just have to Google it now, not even go to a library and study from a book. So you just have to Google it, and it's at your service. So imagine, like, having those many great ideas when you're discussing a topic. So it just not only widens your vocabulary, it also widens your ideas. Like you can now think, oh, there's also a way C to enter into that field, not just two ways. So that's what I would say. Always, like, the things that I've underlined in red or highlighted in yellow should be considered. I am a big fan of just learning about the keywords, because if you say those jargons, you are already in. Anyone who's listening to those will be like, okay, this person has enough. It's not about mugging up, it's not about ratifying, it's about like, okay, these people have enough knowledge about the subject that they're able to use such jargons. So that's what you should do too. We'll read more about the article in coming down. Okay, so then they said that while healthcare entrepreneurs strive to have a positive impact on a patient care, achieving that goal is only possible if they are addressing a business viable unmet clinical need. That is what it means. Like, if you are a healthcare entrepreneur, even if you're not business minded and you would want like to, for a disease you would want to have a cure, right? And you're doing it out of, like, you're a kind person, you want to have a cure, or you had someone, god forbid, in your family who suffered that and you want to have a cure for that. So, but like, business wise, you cannot always go with your heart. You should have something. Now if you say the word business viable while your interviews or while your vivas and discussions, it shows that you are well aware and well equipped with the topic. So when I say, oh, it's just not that, like if I say like that, it's not gonna give that good of an impression as compared to when you say words like, oh, it's not a business viable idea, or it's not a commercially viable idea. um, like, addressing any kind of unmet clinical need would not be smart unless it is commercially viable or business viable. This is where the product addressing the unmet clinical need can result in a profitable product line of business. Because this is not selfishness, because when you are doing clinical research, when you are submitting your application to regulatory bodies, the thing is that it takes not only your time, your like years, like it takes up to 20 years for a new molecule, for example a new drug, to get marketed. Like 15 years is like nowhere, it's nowhere, your 15 years is going to be gone. So it's not just about the time, it's also about money, because you're going to be spending lakhs and thousands and, I don't know, like millions of dollars into these studies. And if there is no comeback, like, forget about it being um, therapeutically non-viable. But if it, even if it is therapeutically viable and it does not have that kind of profit making market when you launch it, what are you gonna pay back to your employees or your organization? So, everyone's gonna be waiting for their paychecks, right? So this is where the product addressing the unmet clinical need can result in a profitable product line of business. When we sit together, brainstorm, and not only bring a solution, whether that solution of an unmet clinical need, but also look at it as a commercially viable project. So, patient, clinicians, payers may be the target customers for your product. Still, you have the other customers to satisfy as well, namely granting agencies and investors who will be looking at the business viability of your plans. So, like the doctors and the people who are going to take it, the patients are be your primary focus, but also you need to satisfy people, your investors in the business. You're going to be need who are going to put their hard-earned dollars millions of dollars into your project. So they are going to be looking at the business viability of your plan. So not every unmet clinical need is a business viable unmet clinical need. That is very important to understand. And then comes my favorite thing to do is to underline, not every unmet clinical need is a business viable unmet clinical need. Very self-explanatory right now. I also explained it in the previous paragraph that, oh, okay, so I have an unmet medical condition or unmet clinical need, and it got it got its solution. But what if the target audience of the solution is less? What if there's so many challenges in making those products? There could be different things that could come up, and that is why not every unmet clinical need is a business viable. Like, not every is going to be commercially successful unmet clinical need. So you have to choose your pick. It may sound depressing that, oh, they're going to be one person, like you have heard of those diseases where they say that there's 1 in 1,000 people who get this disease. This is a rare genetic disorder. So sometimes it would be sad for someone to not target that population, but like they also have to think about their businesses. So because you might be working there in their organization as a pharmacovigilance or a safety officer or a research officer or a regulatory strategist. What if you don't get paid? Won't you be angry that, oh, it was like, would you give up your annual income if the product fails in the market? No, you would be like, I need to pay my own bills, so I need to get my check for that. So moving on, however, it is still essential to start your entrepreneurial pursuits by assessing unmet medical needs. There's a tremendous opportunity in many fields of healthcare for new devices, diagnostics, and therapeutics. So they're saying that you should not just go for drugs, like medicines. Like oral suspensions, tablets, capsules, whatnot. No, they said that you can also widen your horizon and go for new devices, new diagnostics, and new therapeutics. So a new device that significantly improves the efficiency and reduces the cost, such as allowing treatment to move from inpatient to an outpatient procedure, will be welcomed by patient, clinicians, payers alike. However, a new device that provides only incremental improvements will likely be challenging to get past value assessment committees or adopted by clinicians. So, for example, the example I took before, like if there's a medicine whose it shows its efficiency or its T half life is for example 5 hours, and you developed a new device which would help deliver it directly into your systemic circulation, so you reduce the T half from 5 hours to like 20 minutes, then that kind of a product, even though like they had the treatment already, would be considered as a really viable option by not just the patients but also like the investors and the business people inside that organization. So a new diagnostic test will be embraced if it enters a clinical domain and market that was unserved or poorly served. So we have seen many examples of such sort, that there's a new diagnostic test available, but it is targeted only at the Western population, not in the Southeastern population, not in the African population, where, like the developing countries, for example, that the diagnostic tests have not been served as it should be, and that could be used as a business opportunity as well to like go there, launch your product or launch your diagnostic test, and it improves the quality of medical decision making and treatment. But they said that a new diagnostics test may be limited in acceptance if there is no effective treatment to implement when a diagnosis is made with a new test or if the cost of the test are too high. So, for example, you went out in, like, for example, let's say Malaysia, or let's say, for example, Sri Lanka. You went out into that country with a new diagnostic test of AIDS, for example. So you say that in order to diagnose AIDS, I have this kit introduced and it's so ready to use and easy to use, and you're gonna get good scientific results in just 10 minutes, and then you can have proper tests or treatments conducted at hospital. So it's good, it's a good idea, like it's a good initiative. Oh, I see a population that could use it and we can do business there. But what if, like, we going through, like, the next step, they go to the hospitals and there is no treatment options. I'm just giving you an example. So there is no treatment of AIDS in their hospitals. So, oh, I got diagnosed, now what to do? So um, if the product of the diagnosis test is high, the patient or the user could think that if I am not able to get the treatment, what's the use of getting diagnosed like this? That could be a question, right? Because consumers who earn hard way their money could have such questions. So that's what they discussed here, that even though you might have a good diagnostic test plan, if doesn't have good treatments to follow it up in those areas, or the new test or the cost of the test is too high, it's not going to work out, even though it's a pioneer in that area or country or in that field of line. Now, they said that you can also bring a new drug that improves the treatment and patient outcome in an undeserved clinical domain, and market is likely to be adopted quickly. So again, like, there's so many examples of these drugs, like, oh, so there are, now let's reverse the example. There's a drug that gives, it's like pharmacological action, it shows in 20 minutes. So for example, if you have a stomach ache, you have a chronic backache, for example, you're gonna have the action shown within 20 minutes, and that's just it. That's Then it's gonna get eliminated from your body. But um, if you have like a drug that is I would say a coated drug, I would say a sustainable tablet, then that takes a lot of time to disintegrate and show pharmacological action. And if that's also maintained for a very long time, and then it gets eliminated. So for example, its action, it shows for like 2 hours, so the patient has relief for 2 hours as compared to just only 20 minutes. So then that could be adopted quickly. And even though there's a limitation to these things, however, a new drug may be adopted slowly, even in a poorly served market, if it's crowded with established standard treatments. Again, the same thing. If an old lady has been using this drug ABC, for example, for the past 5 years, why would she then suddenly switch to this? So it would need a lot of marketing, it would need a lot of branding, and then maybe you can make your move. So treatment guidelines, conservative physicians and payers may require the patient exhaust existing treatments options before trying a new drug. So that was about. As per IEEE MBS, what they said is the revenue from the sale of new product fuels the growth of many companies. So you have a new product launch, you have a good sale going on, and now that's the revenue from it is going to, really act as a growth of your company. So it often plays a key role in companies' strategic planning and justifies spending significant amount of money on research and development. So that's why each and every company would look into plotting and planning and justifying whatever amount that they are giving out in research and development, that is your R&D. And to meet their goal for growth resulting from new product sales, medical device companies need to identify new market opportunity. So only when they have a new market opportunity, they'll evaluate and predict it, whatever the associated potential return on investments would be, and select the opportunity with the best potential for success. Although some opportunities result from finding applications for new technology, so that's a technological push that, oh wow, I'm gonna work on this technology, it's going to really bring this thing will be enhanced, so that. But many opportunities are based on what? Unmet clinical needs, and that is the market pull. For these reasons, innovative companies are constantly trying to identify unmet clinical needs that can lead to a new commercializable medical product.